In this week's parasha, Parashat Korah, we have the terrible rebellion of Korah and all of his henchmen against Moshe Rabbeinu. Korah gathers a lot of men, a lot of important men, and he begins a rebellion against Moshe. And he steps up against Moshe, against Aaron, fighting against both of them and both of their power. Vayikahalu al Moshe ve'al Aharon, and they gather up against Moshe and Aaron, vayomeru alehem, and they all tell them, Rav lachem, ki kol ha'edeh kulam kedoshim. Isn't it enough for you guys? Ki kol ha'edeh kulam kedoshim, because everybody, the whole nation, the whole assembly here, kulam kedoshim, we're all holy. V'tocham Adonai, and God is with us inside of us. Umadu titnaseu al kal Adonai. So he goes, why are you guys exalting yourselves over the congregation of Hashem? So he starts fighting with Moshe and Aaron. You guys just want power. You guys are just into yourselves. Look, there's brothers that are together, and it's this whole nepotism over here. Well, we're all holy. We should all be in charge. Now Moshe is going to respond to Korah and say, Korah, I don't get it. You're like from the Bnei Kehat. You have a very important job as well. Rav lachem, isn't it enough for you guys? You guys are at such a high level too. Like you're doing such big things. You guys need more. It's like you guys are the ones that really want the more kavod. And what we're doing is really Kadosh Baruch Hu. Your machloket is not against us; it's against Hashem. So he starts to create. So Moshe starts to fight back. But if you look closely to Psukim, Moshe is trying to make peace. Please, Korah, don't be doing this. You're wrong. Look at the bigger picture. You have to open up your eyes to what's really going on. Actually, the Midrash Rabbah picks up on this, and the Midrash over here says that Moshe is coming to peace. He's speaking to him quietly, nicely, please, Korah, and Korah's not responding. So ultimately, Moshe is going to have to fight harder, use a stronger stance. He's going to go to Tanaviram, go to the rest of the people. But at first, Moshe is trying to make peace with Korah, but Korah does not respond. Korah is silent, says the Midrash, to the point that Moshe eventually gives up and has to go on to the Tanaviram, who they're going to respond. They're going to respond negatively to him and say, no, we're not coming to you. But ultimately, Moshe is going to try to make the peace, but this machloket is not going to end. Now, what was their argument? Well, let's try to get a little deeper. What were they fighting with Moshe Rabbeinu? What did they get wrong? But what was the Yetzer Hara? What was the deep problem with their argument? Okay, so they start off by saying that we're all holy. So learns the Safarna. What does it mean that we're all kulam? What does it mean everybody is holy? So he says, not only does he mean that all the people here, all my following, everybody's holy here, but even within ourselves, each of us individually is totally holy. He says from the kaf of the regel, from the bottom of the foot, all the way up to the rosh, all the way up to the heads, so from their bottom to their tops, they are saying we're 100% holy. We're 100% perfect. So you have yourself a whole group of people, this whole nation, we're all holy, we're all awesome, we're all equal, and we're all perfect. That was the argument they were making. Now, on the first surface, it's very nice, we're all holy, but the truth of the matter is, we're not all holy. We're not all perfect. We do make mistakes. But on the surface level, what the argument is that we're perfect. We are the perfect people. How could it be that you're in charge of Moshe and Aaron when we're all so great? And to make this point clearer, the Midrash says that they all dressed in talits of 100% techelet. The total blue, the kula, it was 100% techelet, also techelet, language of kol. We're 100% perfect. We are perfect. We are the best. We are the techelet. The Kohen Gadol, he wears the me'il of techelet. Part of their argument was, why is Aharon the Kohen Gadol? So they're walking around with total blue, just like the Kohen Gadol. And their argument is, we don't need that one string of techelet to make us kosher, to make us a mitzvah, to make us holy. We are 100% already holy. So that's their argument to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, if you open up Perkei Avot in Perkei Mishnah Yud Zayin, so the Mishnah over there speaks about different types of machloket. They speak about machloket Leshem Shamayim, which would be Hillel v'Shamai. It's a good machloket that will last, that's healthy. But then they speak about the machloket, the arguments, the fights that are Shelo Leshem Shamayim. And what's the prototype case of a machloket Shelo Leshem Shamayim? Says the Perkei Avot, it's Korah v'Adato, it's Korah and his people, his protege. They are the prototype of machloket Shelo Leshem Shamayim. Now, what in the world is machloket all about? So I saw some beautiful ideas in Dr. Zornberg's Sefer on Bamidbar. On our parasha, she says as follows. She quotes the Maharal. Says the Maharal, and it's the Maharal and the Gur Aryeh by us on our Pesukim, that what is a Baal Machloket? What is a person who's like Kulo Machloket? What are people fighting over? This Machloket Shelo Leshem Shamayim in our Perkei Avot. Who is a Baal Machloket? So he says a Baal Machloket is a person who sees the world through extreme din. He sees the world through strict justice. There's absolutely no room for compromise, no room for another point of view. Korah saw himself and his whole squad as perfect people. Their agenda was the only correct agenda. There's nothing else to ascertain, nothing else to look at all. He's not even going to respond to Moshe Rabbeinu. There's no room for other opinions. My opinion is the only right opinion, and it's so correct, I'm not even going to fight with you. Normally we think of machlokets as fighting back and forth, arguing back and forth. He says, no. The machloket over here is the person who doesn't even want to fight. He's ignoring ignoring the other side because he thinks he's so true, he's so correct. There's no space for anybody else. We're going to see in the machloket that are Leshem Shamayim, the Hillel and Shammais, they're actually discussing things, they're fighting things out. It's real arguments to try to get to truth. That's not what's happening over here. This person is so convinced, Korah is so convinced that he's true and that he's right and that Moshe is so wrong. It's so extreme deen that there's no room for anybody else. We know ultimately when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to create the world, originally he wanted to create it with Elokim, with only deen, but eventually he brings in the Yud Kei Vav Kei, he brings in the Rachamim, because you can't have a world of only deen. If you have a world of only deen, says the Maram Prag, that's Gehenom. Oh, you're not going to make in this world. Ultimately, Korah, his kids, they're going to be swallowed up. You're not going to make it out. You have to have a space for other people. You have to have a room for compromise. And this, so being the Baal Machloket is the exact opposite of what we thought. What makes him a Baal Machloket is that there's no space for anybody else. There's no space for Moshe Rabbeinu. Dr. Zornberg explains that what's machloket? It's the inability for a person to see that another person has space too. Now, Rabbi Zweig, on his perush, on that Pirkei Avot of machloket, Leshem Shamayim, Leshem Shamayim, he says that what's the good machloket? The good machloket, it goes back to the root of the word machloket, which is chelek, which is a piece. If you want to have a healthy machloket, it's about looking and seeing that everybody has their own place in the world. Everybody has their own chelek in this world to be, and everyone has their own, special note, their individuality, and they're going to play that note, and everybody has to play their note in the world. You have a beautiful harmony. This beautiful music is going to come out when each person has their own space and their own chelek, meaning the differences, the nuances between each other. That's what makes us great. That's what makes for machloket Leshem Shamayim, which is a good thing. That's what makes for Hillel and Shammai, because everybody finds their space in the world. It's the machloket Shelo Leshem Shamayim when you're saying there is no room for nuance. Korah does not see nuance. Korah is not even going to respond to Moshe's overtures for peace. He doesn't want to respond. There is no space for anything outside of himself. That's a machloket that we can't handle. And says Dr. Zornberg that this negates HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Because how does Hashem work? How did Hashem create the world? The very beginning, when Hashem created the world, Hashem created man, so what did he do? Hashem created the world by making space for us to exist. Mystically, the Mekubalim speak about tzimtzum, where Hashem, so to speak, contracts himself. So now there's a void, and in that space, that's the space for existence. That's where we can be. So to be the opposite of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to be a Korach, is to get rid of that space, to say there is no room for anything else. There is no room for Moshe being Moshe. There's, when he's saying that we're all the same, we're all holy, we're all that, there is no separation, there is no chelek, there is no place for somebody else, there's no place for you. That's the exact opposite of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for this world. If we go back to the Mishnah that talks about Hillel and Shammai, they're Leshem Shamayim, they're the good machloket. What is that all about? Because when Talmidei Chachamim, they fight, when they argue back and forth, what are they arguing? There's a space, there's an area in Halakha, there's an area in Torah that's open to interpretation. There's a part that's not been made clear. There's a new chidush that's looking to come forth because there's an area that's gray. There's an area of space, and what happens in that space? We fight in that space. We go back and forth. We argue to try to get to the truth. And when you're fighting in that space, ultimately, what's going to happen? You're going to reach those deeper insights. You're going to find those insights. You're going to discover it. Going back, we're going to sharpen each other. That's what the Gemara speaks about the Charuta studying like two knives, sharpening each other. You're going to sharpen each other in that space to try to get to what the truth is all about. But it's the space itself. It's that ambiguity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu left in the Torah, that grayness that we can still discuss things, still come up with chidushim. That's the healthy place to be. But we have to see that there is a space. She quotes a beautiful quote from this philosopher named Walter Benjamin, who says as follows. He says, "Friendship does not abolish the distance between human beings, but brings the distance to life." Meaning, two people are not exactly the same. There's a space between two people. And what's beautiful about friendships is when you bring it to life, when in that space you can create something new together, that's where the beauty of the world is. So it says the Zohar Kadosh. The Zohar Kadosh says that Korah denied the creation of the world. So now it makes sense. What do you mean deny the creation of the world? Because the idea of the creation of the world is that there's space. By him not making space for other people, by him not even responding to Moshe, there's no other point of view. Where did that come from? Because he doesn't see a space in another person. Really, what he's not seeing and what he's not recognizing is that he doesn't see that there's holes in himself. There's space in himself as well. Nobody is perfect. When he's saying that we're perfect, kadoshim, from head to toe, we're all 100% perfect, it's incorrect. There's chesronot. We have issues. We have problems. We're not 100%. That's not reality. That's not what the world is all about. When he's looking at his first cousin Moshe Rabbeinu and saying, "Oh, I'm just like him. We're all equal." That's the lacking. He doesn't see his own chesronot, so he can't see a world of chesronot, and he can't see that in the world itself there are differences. Bezat Hashem should be zocheh to realize that everybody has a place in life. Everybody has their own space in life, and there's times to fight in those spaces, debate in those spaces. Bezat Hashem, Leshem Shamayim, but it has to ultimately realize that we have to first find the space in ourselves, find some of the holes in ourselves, realize that we're not completely holy, and through that, Bezat Hashem, humble ourselves and make space for everybody. Shabbat Shalom.